I've made many personal finance mistakes in my life. To be honest, too many to count. But through each one, I've learned some hard-earned lessons. So in today's video, I want to share with you 10 of my greatest personal finance lessons that have essentially changed my life. Hi, if you're new to the channel, my name is Tay from Financial Tortoise, where we learn to grow our wealth slow and steady. The number one greatest personal finance lesson that changed my life is that when we buy things to impress people, we actually end up with less money. I know, as obvious as this sounds, I really didn't learn this lesson until I was well into my adulthood. Morgan Housel, the author of Psychology of Money, said it best in his book. Spending money to show people how much money you have is the fastest way to have less money. We're all social beings, so it's not a surprise that we all need social validation. The problem is that we often try to do this through things we buy and own. And I struggled with this pretty much my whole 20s. Why did I rent an apartment that ate up 50% of my take-home pay? So I could impress my parents when they visited. Why did I offer to pay for dinner when I could barely afford to eat out on my own? So I could impress my friends to make them think I was rich. Why did I buy a brand new car at the age of 24 with ridiculous financing? So I could impress random people on the street. What is sad is that after all that effort, I realized too late that no one really cared. My parents didn't care that I lived in a fancy apartment. They were actually worried for me, saying that I was overstretching myself. My friends weren't impressed by my willingness to pay for dinner. They were just happy that they got a free meal. And the random people on the street, they could care less. I mean, when was the last time we were impressed by some random guy driving a brand new car on the road? If you're like me, you probably were more annoyed than impressed. If you're going to spend money, spend it on things that really add value. Never spend money to impress anyone, because not only does no one care, but you end up holding all the bills without anything to show for it. The number two greatest personal finance lesson that changed my life is that real millionaires are actually frugal. Dave Ramsey, one of the most famous American personal finance personalities, said it best. Typical millionaire lives in a middle-class home, drives a 2-year-old or older paid-for car, and buys blue jeans at Walmart. Dr. Thomas Stanley published a book titled The Millionaire Next Door in 1996, which was based on his survey of thousands of actual millionaires in America. Contrary to what media makes out millionaires to look like, wearing expensive clothes, watches, and other status artifacts, in reality, most real-life millionaires were actually the opposite. While many of them did indeed have high income from their lucrative careers or business, the key characteristics that led them to becoming a millionaire in the first place was their frugality. They learned to live well below their means. They wore inexpensive clothes and suits. They most often drove used cars rather than a current model. Some even called themselves tightwad. For me, this fact was really eye-opening because growing up in an immigrant family, I truly believed that real millionaires were lavish spenders. And they spent because they could afford to. Even my parents thought that as well. When we first immigrated from South Korea to the United States, we saw people driving fancy cars, living in nice, beautiful homes, and going on lavish vacations every year. Though South Korea is a wealthier country today, it wasn't so in the 80s. It was still struggling to find its footing in the world, so when I saw the wealth around me, I told myself this is what I must do and have. Become a millionaire one day so I can own all these nice things as well. But the reality is that real millionaires became millionaires because they didn't live like the millionaires we see on TV. True wealth is built on the foundation of frugality, not lavish lifestyle. The number three greatest personal finance lesson that changed my life is that when we have average friends, we will have an average life. Jim Rohn, the well-known motivational speaker, famously said it best. We are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. Most often, our friends and our networks are formed by the circumstances we're born into, the neighborhood we grew up in, the schools we attended, and the coworkers we work together with. It is rare that we go out of our comfort zone to intentionally seek out new relationships that could further our lives. Most often than not, we stay within our comfort zones and just keep hanging out with the people that we know and do what we've always done. But what happens if the people that are within our natural circles all have negative life and money habits? If all the people that we know in our lives are broke, what do you think are the chances that we'll become financially successful? It's the same with our health and education. If the people that are naturally within our circles are unhealthy and uneducated, what are the chances that we'll miraculously become super fit and highly educated? If we want to improve ourselves, we have to level up our network. This was one of the biggest changes that my wife and I made when we decided to radically change our finances. Though we didn't know anyone in the personal finance space, we forced ourselves to leave our comfort zone and attend seminars, events, and retreats that focused on improving our finances. To give you one extreme example, we even attended a week-long money-focused event in England. Mind you, we live in California and we didn't know anyone at this event. But it ended up becoming one of the most life-transforming events in our lives, and many people we met remain good friends today. If you want to really level up your life and your finances, you have to level up your network. And this doesn't mean you're abandoning your current friends and network. Just push yourself outside of your comfort zone so that you're improving your average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. The number 4 greatest personal finance lesson that changed my life is that when it comes to finding our perfect spouse, we should most definitely marry for money. Now, before you judge me, hear me out. Another characteristics of millionaires Dr. Thomas Stanley found in his research was the relationship between marriage and wealth. It is very difficult for a married couple to accumulate wealth if one is a spendthrift. A household divided in its financial orientation is unlikely to accumulate significant wealth. And I know this too well with my own marriage. Both my wife and I didn't come from money. We both came from working class immigrant families and learned the harsh lessons of money well into our adulthood through mistakes. However, despite the precarious financial situation we found ourselves in right after our wedding, broke with $105,000 of student debt, we're able to achieve financial security today because we had each other. Not only did my wife and I share the philosophy of frugality and long-term perspective, we had each other to lean on throughout our financial journey. Ongoing money discussions became normal in our household, especially when we were knee-deep in our debt paydown journey. We would often write down and talk about our monthly budget, net worth, financial problems, opportunities, and future financial goals. The great aspect about this was that it also expanded to other aspects of our marriage as well, more open and honest marriage. So when it comes to finding your perfect spouse, marry for money. It will serve you well in the long run. The number 5 greatest personal finance lesson that changed my life is that effective investing should actually be quite boring. Paul Samuelson, the first American economist to win the Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences, said it best. Investing should be more like watching paint dry or watching grass grow. If you want excitement, take $800 and go to Las Vegas. The media likes to make it seem like investing should be fast, exciting, exhilarating. And sadly, too many people believe this. You don't need to look forward to see this in play. Just look at the recent craze around cryptocurrency and NFTs. Most people investing in these risky assets don't really understand what they're buying. They're driven by emotion rather than logic. They think just because people are making quick money from it, it is smart investing. But this is far from the truth. The most effective way to invest is also the most boring. For example, the most effective way to grow our wealth through the stock market is to buy low-cost, broad market index funds like the Vanguard's Total Stock Market Index Fund, also known as VTSAX, and to hold it forever. It is cheap, simple, and effective way to invest in the market. However, compared to exciting investments like crypto and NFTs, it is very boring. You won't get rich overnight investing in investments like VTSAX. It'll take years, even decades. You're investing in the whole market at a low cost, and you're trusting that the compounding will eventually multiply your investment. This way of investing is smart, but it requires patience and frankly, no emotion. We need to disassociate our emotion from our money for this strategy. We're looking at the long-term trend of the market and investing for the long run. However, if you're looking to get rich next week or next month, you can't accept this kind of strategy. And you start looking for quick get-rich investments, which are oftentimes sold to you, taking advantage of your vulnerable emotion. Thousands of people lost money when the crypto market recently crashed. They were investing with emotion rather than logic and paid the price for it. Don't expect investing to be sexy and exciting. Smart investing should be as boring as watching paint dry and grass grow. If you're getting emotional about your investments, you're closer to gambling versus really investing. The number 6 greatest personal finance lesson that changed my life is that effective investing should also be very simple. Jack Bogle, the founder of Vanguard and the father of index funds, said it best. When there are multiple solutions to a problem, choose the simplest one. The media loves to highlight the image of investing as super complicated and risky. It throws out fancy jargons like alpha, dividends, and capital gains. And if you don't understand it, it goes out of your way to make you feel like you're the dumbest person in the room. But it only sounds and feels complicated because the financial industry is working hard to make you feel that way. It is the ultimate financial marketing machine at work. And what happens to many of us is that we get so overwhelmed that we never pull the trigger to investing in the market. Or we rely on so-called professionals to manage our money for us. And this can be detrimental to our wealth. The truth is, investing doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need to understand all the jargons to start reaping the reward of compounding returns. I remember when I first started, I was so overwhelmed by everything I read and heard about investing that I didn't know where to start. I was scared of making the wrong move and losing my money. What finally got me started was taking baby steps. I started by investing in a very simple index fund that tracked the total market. And over time, I became more comfortable and more confident. And what I learned along the way was that creating an effective investment portfolio doesn't require a degree in rocket science. With just 2 or 3 simple funds and no more than maybe 30 minutes a year, any one of us can become a bona fide investor. Don't believe the lie that investing is complicated. It's as easy and simple as picking what to eat for dinner today. And the best part is, unlike dinner, you only have to do this once every few years. The number 7 greatest personal finance lesson that changed my life is that effective investing should be for the long run. And when we mean long run, really long. Warren Buffett, the sage of Omaha, said it best. Our favorite holding period is forever. Warren Buffett doesn't invest in index funds. He finds good quality companies. However, Warren Buffett tries to find stocks that are worthy of being held for many years down the line. Instead of focusing on the short-term opportunities of a stock, he considers the fundamentals. the company's ability to innovate in its market and consistently boost its profit. The lesson here isn't that we should try to stock pick like Warren Buffett, because there's a reason why there's only one Warren Buffett. Rather, his philosophy in long-term investing. None of the companies purchased or investments made by Berkshire Hathaway was ever done with a short-term mindset. Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger didn't choose companies or stocks because they thought the price was going to rise this week, this month, or even this year. They bought and invested in companies because they wanted to own those businesses for the long term. Yes, they still sell stocks occasionally and for a variety of reasons, but their primary approach is still with the mindset of owning them forever. For example, Berkshire Hathaway has owned Coca-Cola, which owns about 10% of its shares, for 34 years. American Express, 29 years. Costco, 22 years. Now, compare that to an average investor who holds a share for 5.5 months. So when we're approaching our own investment, we should have a long-term mindset. That once we buy a specific fund, we should plan on holding it essentially forever. Not trying to time the market, not trying to buy funds for cheap so we can sell them for a hefty profit quickly. There are countless studies that show that market timing is a fool's errand. Motley Fools defines market timing most accurately: a strategy based on predicting short-term price changes in securities, which is virtually impossible to do. Learn from the best and focus on long-term investments, not short-term. The number 8 greatest personal finance lesson that changed my life is that cash is king. Warren Buffett again said best: we never want to count on the kindness of strangers in order to meet tomorrow's obligations. When forced to choose, I will not trade even a night's sleep for the chance of extra profits. Strong cash positions are the base foundation of a strong personal finance. You won't build a house without a solid foundation. So in the same way, we want to have our emergency fund in place before we jump into investing. Emergency funds are there for unplanned and unexpected life events: losing your job, a car repair, or a medical emergency. Without it, our grandiose plans to invest will always get derailed. Something will always come up that will require us to funnel money from our investments to a new emergency because we don't have a financial cushion. Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger have said in their 2014 Berkshire Hathaway annual report that they vowed never to keep less than $20 billion in cash. They never want to be caught in a position where they have a shortage of liquidity. When COVID-19 caused a market crash in 2020, Berkshire had $137 billion in cash. While everyone else was panicking from uncertainty, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger were making Berkshire Hathaway even more indestructible in the face of many unknowns. And their cash strategy isn't just so that they can sleep soundly at night, even though that is a major reason. Berkshire Hathaway holds a lot of cash, so when good deals come up, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger could be at the front of the line to take full advantage. During the financial crisis of 2008, Warren Buffett was able to pump $5 billion into Goldman Sachs shortly after the Lehman Brothers collapse, serving as a massive boost of confidence for Goldman Sachs and helping to stabilize an already shaky market. However, it also netted Buffett a hefty profit of approximately $3 billion, all because he had the cash to do so. The number 9 greatest personal finance lesson that changed my life sounds a bit counterintuitive, but that is that we should willingly spend money extravagantly on the things that we love. But with a caveat, of course, as long as we're willing to cut back ruthlessly on the things that we don't. Ramit Sethi, the self-proclaimed personal finance guru and the author of I Will Teach You to Be Rich, said it best: spend extravagantly on the things you love and cut costs mercilessly on the things that you don't. One major purpose of having money is so that we can buy the lifestyle that we want. So it really doesn't make sense when we spend our hard-earned money on things we don't love just because they're on sale. Because every dollar we spend on frivolous things takes away from our ability to spend money on things we truly care for and love. For example, I love a good book, especially a hardcover book, but I could care less what I wear. As you can probably tell in all my videos, I wear the same shirt for all of them. So I spend extravagantly on books, but I cut back mercilessly when it comes to anything related to clothes. My wife has literally forced me to buy a new pair of socks whenever they have holes in them. I say, why bother? I like the ventilation. This balance of spending extravagantly on the things that you love and cutting back mercilessly on the things that are important to you is one of the most powerful personal finance lessons out there. It shows that good money management isn't actually about just cutting back on everything. Rather, it's about good prioritization. The number 10 greatest personal finance lesson that changed my life is actually my favorite lesson. And that is that the greatest purchase that money can buy is freedom. Freedom to work if we want to, freedom to spend our day however we see fit, and the freedom to completely control our time. Jill Collins, the author of The Simple Path to Wealth, said it best: there are many things money can buy, but the most valuable of all is freedom. Freedom to do what you want and to work from whom you respect. And I couldn't agree more. Money gives us the freedom to be our own boss, the freedom to create something of lasting value, and the freedom to live a life that is truly fulfilling on our own terms. And that was the case for my wife and I as well. Though we haven't completely reached financial independence yet, we have amassed enough resource to buy back some of our time and freedom. And this freedom has allowed us to spend more time at home with our kids, explore our other interests such as this YouTube channel, and frankly, more brain space to just pontificate about life. So if you're at a crossroad debating how best you should spend your hard-earned money, consider buying freedom. it will be the greatest purchase that money can buy. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to learn more about life's other great investments, please check out my video here. Until next time, all the best.